Hello, everybody. Ella J here on behalf of WrestleZone, and today I am joined by the sweetest PN, your NSPW Junior Heavyweight Champion, Kristara. How are you today?
I'm good. Thanks so much for having me.
I am so good to be catching up with you. The last time we met was, over our good friends at Love Wrestling, I believe. It was a game night. Didn't get to really catch up, but now we finally getting to sit down and chat with you. So I'm super excited. You have had a hell of an almost 4 years as a pro, my friend, and you should be very proud of what you've accomplished so far. And like I said, you are the reigning NSPW Junior Heavyweight Champion. And just in a matter of weeks, you'll be defending it against Indi Hartwell at Rise Above on September 12th. Big name in wrestling. You've also built a respectable name for yourself. What are your thoughts heading into this match? And from what I believe, it's a first time encounter for you guys.
Yeah, I'm super excited. I didn't know what was gonna happen. Like they surprised me with that. So it's a big privilege when, a company brings in a name like that, especially someone that you've been watching because, I love NXT. It's
Yeah.
NXT is what got me back into wrestling. I stopped watching wrestling for a bit because, oh, it wasn't cool. But then the women of NXT were damn, they're so cool. I wanted to be just like them. So to be able to wrestle someone like her and doing what she's doing in TNA, it's a very cool experience because I know I'm gonna take a lot, learn a lot. That's what I love to do.
Yeah, you mentioned, I believe it was the 2018-19 era of NXT really got you back into it, like the Candice LeRae's, who was obviously a partner of Indies, the Io
Yeah.
Sky's, Dakota Kai's. What really about that era of NXT really got you back? I totally get it. Like, I've
Yeah.
always been into it, but I was a closeted fan for a while because, there's that stigma, oh, it's not cool, whatever. But what got you back into it specifically about that era really drew you back in?
So I've always just been a big wrestling fan and I've always
Yeah.
loved the women, but just, what I watched was North American wrestling and
Yes.
things weren't as accessible as they are now. Like maybe I just didn't know things either because I didn't have friends. Like I didn't know about I YouTube things. I had to go on Daily Motion. So it's like that
Same.
type of wrestling, I didn't like I loved the woman, but I didn't like the way they were being presented. So it's like I was like a little
Yeah.
tiring as a women's wrestling fan. Like I specifically watched just for the women. Like I had some male wrestlers that were my favorites, but it was like the women's matches that I watched for. So that's what took me out of wrestling. And with like NXT and how the women were presented, like they were finally being able to do like all the things. Like I'm like I knew they could do all these things and being given those chance. So it brought me back into wrestling because I was like, wow, there's not just one match. There's like multiple matches and multiple characters and everybody's so awesome, so beautiful, so cool. And I feel like I could be just like them because it's especially people like Indy Hartwell, where it's like there's the people that come through like the independence as well, of course, being an independent wrestler, but even before being a wrestler, it's like you kind of relate to more because you're like, oh, you
Yeah.
were a fan just like me, you know? Like
Yeah.
I honestly I loved like people that didn't come from indie wrestling, like Trish Stratus. I look up to them, but it's like I didn't think I could be them. Like I'm not a model, I'm not a fitness model, but I am a wrestling fan, like Indy Hartwell once was.
Yeah.
So that's like where the.
Absolutely. I do know on the male side, we have one person in common. He's also a fellow Canadian to you, Edge. He
Yeah.
obviously retired. That was such a sad time. He was a favorite of mine too, but he's been back. I'm sure
Hmm.
as someone who was also an Edge fan growing up, you were probably elated when he came back in
Yeah.
2020. Tell us about if from what you recall, your reaction to him being back. And also, I mean, he's going to be back in Canada next month. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to see that.
I love Edge. Like I remember when he retired, I was watching Raw as I did by myself and I just
Yeah.
cried. I was just crying and I
Same.
had no one to talk to. I was just
Yeah.
crying in the basement in the dark. Like it sucked. So when he returned, I was also watching it by myself. My husband was trying to watch the Royal Rumble
Mhm.
with me, but like he doesn't he was falling asleep. And I literally jumped out of my chair. I was like, ah! Like he jumped up like all scared, because I woke him up. But it's like I didn't think that day would come. Like it was just such an
Yeah.
amazing moment, especially, well, to see your favorite wrestler, but to just hear someone overcome something like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, gone for 9 years, especially like a neck injury. He was one of my early favorites. I remember
Yeah,
also crying. I'm like, what do you mean you have to retire? And then we thought we'd never see him again, but now
yeah,
here he is, 5 years. We don't know how much longer he has, but 5 years that we never would have imagined probably.
it's
Um,
crazy. Yeah,
Yeah, so that just shows you. I mean, you've seen Bryan Danielson come back, you've seen Saraya come back from neck injuries. It's not impossible, you know. They may say career ending, but in wrestling, nobody ever truly retires. Let's
Yeah, and it's really crazy the resilience like those people have to like go through
yeah.
like when I have minor injuries, I'm like, man, this is hard. Like I sprained my ankle and I can't like not walk and I'm like, this sucks. And
Hmm.
like I couldn't imagine dealing with what they did and like
Yeah.
still like pushing through, like going years. You know what I mean? Like I can't even go a couple weeks being hurt, you know? Like
Right? You're
it
like, I
takes
want to
strength.
get back in the ring and all of that. I
Yeah.
totally understand that. You know, it's a big difference between a neck and like a minor it just put things in
Yeah.
perspective, I have to imagine. You know, you mentioned obviously Indi Hartwell signed to TNA right now. You've also dipped your toe into the TNA realm when you took on Rosemary last year in your TNA Impact debut. Tell us about your experience and some of your main takeaways from your TNA debut.
Yeah, honestly, that's another thing. I love TNA growing up, talking about loving women's wrestling. I love the
Yeah.
TNA
The
knockouts so
knockouts. Oh,
much.
yeah.
They were the best. Like I was obsessed with them when I started wrestling. I was like, I'm gonna do a pump kick because like Angelina Love did a pump kick and I
Yeah.
loved her because she was charismatic and also because she was Canadian. Like I just had that thing as a kid. So that was really awesome to like be in the TNA locker room because there was a lot of like faces that I used to like I grew up watching. I was like, this is
Yeah.
crazy. I'm walking by like Matt Hardy's there. I'm like, what the hell, you know? And everybody was really nice. The biggest takeaway I had is like, as an indie wrestler, like you're so used to like having these long matches, these long stories,
Yeah.
but it's like you go out there, it's like you don't really have that much time. You're there to highlight the wrestler that's signed, right? So you're
Yeah.
like, okay, if I have two moves, like how can I show my biggest strengths? How can I shine the most in the smallest ways that I'm given, Because I don't want to just take it for granted. So it was like, oh, like how, also the camera work, it's very different. Like, oh, is there a certain way you want them to catch
Yeah.
it? There's certain things that I have to think about too that as I'm planning with the wrestler, they're not going to tell me like, oh, how does she want me to sell this? Like, you know what I mean? Like, how could I, like, there's just so many things to think about. So my biggest takeaway is, yeah, just like kind of narrowing it down like they always say, well, my coaches always say like know like five things that you do the best and like do them like every match. So like I tried to make sure I did two of those things. She was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, could you do this? Could you do that?" And I'm like, I could have said like, "Yeah, I'll do a clothesline," but it's like, "Oh, you said a strike. I know I do a really good spinning wheel kick. So if I have
Yeah.
one strike, could I do like my best move, And she was like, "Yeah, of course, And it was like a little nerve-wracking because like you don't really want to be like feeling like you're trying to get your shit in, but you have to
Yeah.
like speak up because they're
Yeah.
always like, gonna usually be like, yeah, of course, what the hell? Like, do that. And they were really awesome to me. Like, they gave me feedback. Like, it was just kind of like, it was an experience I didn't expect. Like, I felt like really welcomed, and that was really nice.
Well, I was going to ask, like you mentioned, you're surrounded backstage by a lot of vets. You mentioned Matt Hardy, Rosemary herself is a big veteran. You know, at the time, like Gil Kim was there, Tommy
Yeah.
Dreamer. Um, did you get to pick the brains of any of the vets back there? You mentioned getting feedback. What feedback or advice did you get if you had the opportunity to do so?
Yeah, so I got to wrestle Rosemary. So Rosemary gave me advice, of course, like after the match. Also, Gil Kim was our agent, so Gil Kim was there. That was really awesome. And she gave me feedback on like, there was a kick I did. Maybe I took a little too long to pick her up, like I was showing character, and she's like, I would have done this differently. And even Gil Kim was like, but that's what I would do, but you don't have to do that if you don't want
Yeah.
to. And I'm like, oh, well, I'm gonna do what you would do because
Yeah.
you're amazing. But she was like giving advice, but also like not like you have to do that. So it was like really cool to see. And yeah, so I think that's the advice I got. It was like that one move I did, which it was the way I reacted, maybe like a little too slow, right?
Hmm.
And I can't remember the advice that Rosemary gave me, but she was really nice to me. And I
Yeah.
remember I sent her a message afterwards saying thank you for the match. And she replied and she was really nice. And I saw her like not too long ago and she came back to like the Indies for like one show at a
Yeah.
place I wrestle at, Acclaim, because she used to be the champion there and I'm the champion.
Yes.
Well, I was at the time, like, and she was like, I remember you. How are you? And I was like, oh, that was so cool. Like,
Yeah.
just even not giving advice, just being kind like really made a difference as well to me because obviously I look up to Rosemary so much. She's
Yeah.
accomplished a lot and she didn't have to answer me. She didn't have to really say anything to me. And she did, She was like really warm.
Yeah, and especially in this business where you inherently like have to be selfish, or the
Yeah.
veterans in all every, in everywhere. Sometimes they technically, I guess, don't have to give you the time of day as, people would say.
Yeah.
But I'm so happy to hear that there has been a lot of vets that are giving back and paying for it and just being a good person,
No, yeah.
basically. It's sometimes hard, especially like I said in wrestling where it's an inherently selfish business. But that was your debut. Obviously, we hope to see you back there again. They're in Canada quite often. So fingers crossed we get to see you back there. But speaking of debuts, how do you think you've grown as a person and as a competitor thus far since becoming a pro?
Yeah, so okay about that. My cage match is wrong.
Oh, really?
I debuted in August, so I actually
Okay.
celebrated my 4 years like a couple days ago.
Well, congratulations,
Yeah.
my friend.
I should probably message them because I did notice that, but I was like, oh, I
Yeah.
don't know. Like I just didn't do
Yeah.
it. Honestly, like just as a person, like I used to be so like I'm obviously like still stressed in life, but wrestling gave me like a lot of freedom. And when I used to go to class, I'd get so physically sick, like I'd have like nervous like feeling in my stomach, like I literally had to go to the toilet, like I had to bring Pepto-Bismol with me, like I just had so much nerves. And now within 4 years. I've gained a lot of confidence. I think to myself, well, I've done everything I could do to prepare for these situations. And if it doesn't go well, like it's okay. It's just a learning experience. So I think in those 4 years, I've found like a lot of peace, like I'm just like having fun. Like obviously I still get nervous, but I'm just like, you're okay. Like you're in this position because, you're meant to be there and you've worked hard. So those 4 years, it's been like a good mental journey.
Absolutely. Wrestling is obviously a lot physical, but mentally, the aspect, you're away from home a lot, you're thinking about, like you said, the nerves. I get the same way. Like the nerves get to you.
Yeah.
But it shows that you care. And you mentioned, you've had some amazing trainers in Speedball Mike Bailey and Shayne Hawke at the IWS dojo. I believe you reunited with Speedball last year. You probably reunited with him since then. What
Yeah.
are some things that you've learned that has really stuck with you through your training with Speedball and or Shane?
I guess like one thing that comes straight to mind is to never stop training. Like, this is one subject that always comes up.
Yeah,
Wrestlers, they like just they stop going to practice, right? You start
yeah,
taking bookings and you stop going to practice. And Speedball himself, like whenever he's here, he would be at practice like every day. And
yeah,
he does like every part too. Like when I first started, I didn't even realize he was who he was because I didn't really know independent wrestling,
yeah,
but he did every part. Like he showed up for ring crew, like he helped out. And yeah, so I guess it's just like to keep practicing, even if it's a little less, because like you're gonna be like on the road and you're
yeah.
often working a real job. Keep practicing and yeah, just keep getting your reps in. I guess that's the biggest thing I can think of. Like even there's things that you think you know how to do. Maybe you're doing one thing wrong, or maybe you can find a different way how to do that thing
Yeah.
that you're already doing. Like I don't ever want to just keep having the same match or doing the same thing. Okay, maybe I'll do the same thing, but I'll set it up a little different. Like I want to grow.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always about keep learning and keep evolving, because you don't want to stay
Exactly.
stagnant for even just character-wise. Characters evolve too, and with that comes all the in-ring stuff and psychology. You always want it better, you could come up with a new move or something to add. There's so
Yeah.
many, and that's the beauty of indie wrestling is you have that kind of creative freedom to experiment with stuff, add
Yeah.
stuff in character-wise and in ring. So you always want to keep learning, and especially like some great minds. Speedball, I've met him. He is the loveliest person ever. I can only imagine, and he's a great wrestler. So I can only imagine he's like one of the best coaches to have in the
Yeah.
entire world. And you've made a lot of history there, my friend, especially with Masha Slamovich, we saw last year in the promotion's first ever all female event. It was not your first run in with Masha, but I would definitely say it's probably the most significant because it was a winner takes all match for the IWS World Heavyweight and Women's Championships. From what you remember, which by the way, you hold both of them now. You won that match. So tell us about the significance of this title match and your feelings about it afterward. I feel like it has to be a little bit full circle for you.
Yeah, it was really crazy because a couple shows before, like IWS, there's a couple of months in between the shows, but it's
Okay.
like a couple shows before, it's like I wasn't really doing much, but I was still just trying my best in every position that I was given. And when I was finally given the chance to like, wrestle a star, it's
Yeah.
like because I kept applying myself and kept working hard, I was prepared for that moment. So it was really cool because it's like sometimes it could be really discouraging, but it was really cool to know that because I kept pushing forward and I kept a positive attitude, they knew like, okay, sh we can rely on her, and like they put me in that position.
Yeah.
And to be able to wrestle Masha, like she made me feel again another person that made me feel so comfortable. It was such a stressful situation. I've never main evented before. I never, wrestled one-on-one in that like level of a high profile match.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, we're making history too. So like, oh my God, it's got to be really good. I can't be a stinker. But yeah, it just it was pretty awesome. Like in the moment, I was like just going through the motions, but when I think back to it, I'm like, that's like it was a really big privilege to like be a part of. Like that was something really cool that we did. And I feel like it was also like a classic IWS match. Like we didn't just have a match. Like IWS is known for being a little hardcore. It's like we were in the
Yeah.
crowd, we were brawling. You don't always see that. We don't always get the chance to have that time as well. Like sometimes you only have like 8 minutes. It's like we had to
Yeah.
go have the match that makes sense. So that was really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And you are now the holder of not one, but two championships in IWS. I saw you maybe recently called out another belt collector on Twitter. Somebody is looking to expand their work to Canada after going
Mhm.
to England, Austria, a couple other places. I'm talking about Mercedes Mone. She
Yeah.
sent out a tweet. She's looking for the best promotions in Canada. A lot of people put their name in the hat, including you yourself, whether it's at IWS or NSPW. How do you feel about a possible match with Mercedes Moné, maybe for one or two of your titles and maybe one of hers?
I would love to see it happen because I love Mercedes. Like I study her matches all the time because
Yeah.
she's someone when you watch her matches, you know that she loves wrestling. So I love
Yes.
watching her because she loves wrestling. She brings the best out of all of her opponents, and her matches are like she has her moves that she does every match, but again, she does them differently, right?
Yeah.
And she's just so I would love to wrestle her. Of course, love to wrestle her at NSPW, at IWS, but I would wrestle her anywhere because she's amazing. I'm like speaking too fast because when I think of Mercedes Moné, like I get so excited. She's just every week wearing a new outfit. Like she's just so interesting to watch. And I love what she's doing right now. Like she's just like she just comes across like so unselfish, like going around making these big matches for everybody, but just having fun. Like I love to see it.
Well, she is going to be around the Toronto area, which isn't
Yeah.
terribly far from you. Next,
No.
in a couple of weeks, actually, like 3.5 weeks, 4 weeks. So she's gonna be around there. So we'll see what happens if that something emerges from there. I would love to see that. You're kind of a bit of a belt. I believe you have four, maybe five belts right now. You
I
have
had
your own
five at
little,
one point,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. You have your own little collection going.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's only right that we have
Right.
belt
Yeah.
collector versus belt collector. And I must say, definitely that plus the growth you have has definitely earned you some spots in some elite lists, like the PWI Women's 250, jumping from 223 to number 68. And I believe you were considered the Women's Wrestler of the Year in 2024 in Quebec. So,
Yeah.
two big honors. Tell us about your initial reactions to finding these out and what these honors meant to you as well.
It was really unexpected because, like I'm like you were saying before, I'm only 4 years in, and a
Yeah.
lot of times, like to get these honors or to get this recognition, like some people, especially in Canada, like they're 10 years in, just fighting
Yeah.
to be seen. Like I'm lucky that, like I said, now we have IWTV, we have YouTube, like places upload stuff, so more people know about me, and I try to my best to use social media and Twitter to like get my name out there. So. Yeah, it's just like a big honor because, like when I think of the Quebec women's list, like when you look at the list, it's mostly people that have been wrestling like a really long time, like
Yeah.
Lufisto, Lou Farrell. So I felt like, oh, that's really cool. Like, I'm on the right track, and it's always nice to get recognition because you're putting in a lot of, hard hours.
Absolutely. It's funny too because you did a lot of obviously other sports in the past, like basketball, I believe, and obviously your dad was a big part of that, doing football, baseball. But you said it was really wrestling that you discovered was your thing, and that helped
Yeah.
you get out of the house. What, obviously, you'd been a fan, that's probably part of it, but what really made you feel like wrestling was your thing, something that you genuinely enjoyed?
Yeah. So I think I love to perform and I love sports. Like I've always been a performer. Like I used to be in dance class and like
Yeah.
everyone would be dancing, like, just like normally, but I'd be like going full out, like 10 on 10, like every time. So it's like I feel like it kind of combined like two things that I really like because I love competing. I love, doing physical sports. Like I'm not someone that likes going to the gym. Like obviously I have to, but like
Yeah.
I like to do like team things or like working with someone. Like for me, that's like how I get my exercise. So it just felt like just this perfect combination of things I love. And I never did theater, but I feel like I'd be like a really good, like if I can go back in a time machine, like I'd be a really
Yeah.
good kid. Like I love that stuff, you know? So I think that's just what I like. It's a little bit of everything, you know?
Mhm.
And in other sports too, it's like there's very specific things, but in wrestling, like there's different ways to be good, and you can highlight what you're good at and
Yeah.
do what you're good at, but there's certain things that you might not be good at, and that's okay. You just don't do them, you know? And it doesn't, make you if that makes sense, like a bad wrestler. It's just like
Yeah.
there's just so many different ways to be a good wrestler.
Yeah, it's interesting too because like you said, you did a bunch of sports growing up, then wrestling came. You went to college for political science and history. But if you think back to younger Kristara, like what was your initial dream when you became older? What did little you envision the older version of yourself doing for a living, if you recall?
So what's funny is that there's a story of it was like my grade six grad because we had grade six grad for some reason, and everybody said like what they wanted to be, and everyone was like, "I want to be a doctor," and like as they
Hmm.
would say it as you walked out,
Yeah.
and I legit said, "I want to be a basketball player or a wrestler." And when everyone heard wrestler, like I'm not even like it sounds like a movie, but everyone laughed like hee hee ha, like so silly, you know? And I was
Hmm.
like, oh, like a bunch of parents. Like I always wanted to be a wrestler. Like when I was a little bit younger, I'm sure like I wanted to be like other things, but I,
Yeah.
I wanted to be a wrestler so bad. It's just I didn't think it was possible. So that's why I went to school and I did other things.
Huh.
It was really like during the pandemic where I was like, man, I just graduated. I still want to be a wrestler. Like, what am I doing here? Life is short. Like,
Hmm.
people were getting really sick and everything. And I was like, I don't feel fulfilled in life. Let me try wrestling because you keep saying you want to do it and you need to just do it. Like I had looked at schools before, but there's like always an excuse like, oh, it's too far or
Yeah.
it's too expensive. Like it was always something like, oh, like I don't look like anybody. And it just got to a point where I was like, you just have to try. And then once I tried, it was like it didn't matter if it was too expensive. Like I'm gonna find a way to pay for those fees, and I'll find the time. Like if you want to do something, you find the time. So yeah, I've always wanted to be a wrestler. It was just like I guess trying to be practical, like, it's not like a really practical career. I make no money, I make a lot of sacrifices to be able to wrestle. And yeah, but you have to follow your heart because like I say, like life is short.
Yeah, you mentioned before that you went to school for political science and history is, like you said, maybe to be a little bit more practical, to get a
Yeah.
government job, as you say. I guess even if, you've gone towards something else, you always have that as a plan B to fall back on. You
Yeah.
have the degrees to do it. I have a degree in psychology. I do wrestling media and writing for a living now. So
Yeah.
I'm also one who has not even used, well, I don't know. I can't say that you haven't used your degree. I don't know that. I haven't used mine in a professional setting yet, but it's always a plan B, like just in
Yeah.
case. It's just there's something about professional wrestling that just gravitates us. It
Yeah.
brings us in, man.
It's just so fulfilling. You're like, I'm not taking any money from this, but it's like
Right?
I wake up every day and I'm happy, Like
Yeah.
it's I wake up, I check the wrestling news like it's the news, like I'm watching the
Yeah.
weather, Like what
Right.
happened in wrestling today,
It's
Like
ingrained in our brain.
yeah, it's all I
That
think about.
Yeah. Since we're talking about things that make you happy, what would you say has been the proudest performance of your career thus far?
Oh, the proudest performance. Oh, that's hard. Like I want to go back to the Masha match because that like was probably the biggest match of my career and I feel like I did pretty decent. Like I felt like I was so nervous going into it. I didn't know what to expect and we did things I
Yeah.
didn't prepare for. Like we practiced it. Obviously we rehearsed, but going into that day, I didn't think I was doing those things. And throughout that whole process, like within those couple months where I won both belts, I didn't know any of that was happening. It was just happening like the day of. Like, well, I
Oh,
knew I was winning the second title, but the first title, I didn't know I was winning.
yeah.
So it was just like I was kind of just having to adapt to situations. So I think maybe just both the title matches are my most proudest moments because I feel like I was put into like really hard situations. And even if I was really nervous and, I had to go to the bathroom or, I wanted to
Hmm.
puke, like I pushed through and I did them proud.
Yeah. Are you talking about your first one with, I think it was Louis Farrell for the first
Oh,
title, and then the second one? Oh no, you're both your
the
three-way with
IWS one.
Masha,
Yeah.
and then got it, the three-way with
No, no. So
Masha.
I was talking about
Just
the one that I didn't know about. Sorry. There's too many
okay,
things.
yeah,
But
just
something
for
specific.
clarification, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and you made me remind me of the Lou Farrell match too, because that one was
Hmm.
pretty awesome as well. Um, it was more the match. So I wrestled Jody Threat. It would think it was like October for 4th or something like that
Okay.
at IWS. And that's all I was supposed to do that day. I was just supposed to wrestle Jody Threat. And I was super excited. I was like, oh my God, I'm wrestling Jody Threat in my hometown. I wrestled
Yeah.
her before. It was awesome. We had good chemistry. I'm like, it's just gonna be better. My whole family was coming. I was like, I'm wrestling freaking Jody Threat, guys. You guys better be there. And then I show up to the venue and Shayne Hawke, my coach and the promoter, is like, "Hey, we're gonna put you in another match too." And I was like, "Haha, so silly, you're so funny." So it was like I got thrown into two matches that day. Like I was the
Oh
opener,
yeah.
I was the closer, and I didn't know I was doing that. I was already knew I was doing a hard match.
Hmm.
But yeah, now that you bring up the Lou Farrell match too, that was pretty
Oh,
awesome
I'm getting
because
I'm getting NSPW and IWS mixed up. But yes, that was
yeah,
another great match.
no, it was because what happened that day is that me and Lou were feuding all year long, right? Like we had a
Mhm.
pretty awesome feud. She was tormenting me, but like
Yeah.
I was putting up with it, right? Like we had a great match at Golden Opportunity, and then every year NSPW does a show called Standing 30, and it's a Royal Rumble. And me and Lou, I entered at one, and then she entered at two. And
Oh
I entered
yeah.
that one because of her, because she was being a menace to me.
Yeah.
And we went the whole Rumble, and then I beat her, and then I cashed in the same night. It was pretty crazy. Like it was like two women going the whole Rumble. We
Yeah.
Iron Woman did.
Yeah.
It was crazy, and it was like a moment like I was preparing for, but it was just like crazy. I'm like, we just did that. Like we were throughout the whole Rumble, we weren't just sitting down to like taking it easy. Like we were participating,
Yeah.
doing multiple things. Like that took cardio, that took memory points, and it was really
Hmm.
cool to do with her because obviously I look up to her so much. So it was a cool moment to share and make that history together.
Absolutely. History maker. So hopefully we continue to see that. Final question, as you're looking forward to the future, one of them we're manifesting a match with Mercedes Monet, maybe in the
Yeah,
next couple of weeks when she's in Canada. We'll see what happens.
I hope so. Yeah.
But otherwise, what would you say are your personal and professional goals for the rest of 2025 and beyond?
So yeah, of course, I think I just want to travel more. Like I love wrestling locally, but I just want to wrestle more different people. I want to just pick more different brains, wrestle different types of people of different backgrounds because I'm used to a certain style here. I want to feel nervous again. As much
Yeah.
as nice it is to feel comfortable, like I want to feel those butterflies. I want to like walk out into a crowd and be like, no one knows who I am. I have to like really work for it tonight. So I guess just to get that opportunity to travel more. And I would like to go to Europe. I don't think that'll
Oh
happen in
yeah.
2025, but I have plans for it in 2026. So I think you'll see me abroad, fingers crossed. Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be awesome.
I think you'd fit in with a lot of the talents, well, not even in the UK, but there's a lot of amazing talents in like Germany and France, even in like the Nordic countries. There's a lot
Yeah.
of amazing talents over there that we'd love to see you square off with. But in the meantime, please let the people know where they can find you online and support you.
Yeah. So you can find me on X and Instagram at _Kristara. And I do have a Facebook as well because in Quebec, people love Facebook, like all the fans. So you can type in just the sweetest Pete Kristara, and you can also find me on Facebook.
Amazing. Thank you so much for joining me here today. It's been an absolute pleasure, and we wish you the best of luck coming up in your match against Indi Hartwell. And fingers crossed, maybe this match with Mercedes. We're manifesting it for you, girl.
Manifest, manifest.
Thank you so much for joining me here today. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much.